So it is the 30th anniversary of the album Everything Is Wrong, but it's also the 30th anniversary of the movie Heat. Let's get in our little time machine and go back to 1994. I was part of the rave scene and I was making my first album, Everything Is Wrong. And one of the songs, in fact, it's the last song on Everything Is Wrong that I really was desperate to include on the album, is God Moving Over the Face of the Waters. And God Moving Over the Face of the Waters could arguably be the strangest song ever included on what was supposed to be a dance music album. Because not only are there no drums, there's nothing overtly electronic in God Moving Over the Face of the Waters. And I fell in love with it. Like when I was working on it and when I was mixing it, I fell in love with it almost more than I've ever fallen in love with anything I've ever done. So we put it on the album, or I put it on the album, and it sat there at the end of the album, largely ignored. But somehow, and I still don't know how, the film director Michael Mann heard it. And he wanted to use it in this movie that he was working on called Heat, with Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, on and on and on, like this, this real movie. And I was baffled. First baffled, like, how does Michael Mann know who I am? How does Michael Mann know about this piece of music? But I said yes, of course. I mean, it was just such an amazing opportunity. Like, wow, this actual big Hollywood director knows who I am and wants to use my music. So of course I said yes. And they flew me out to Los Angeles and they put me in a studio to sort of tailor God Moving to the closing scene of the film. And I had only ever worked in my little homemade studio in my abandoned loft building in New York. So there I am in a real studio. They had a car pick me up in my hotel and bring me to the studio. And here's my two big memories of working on God Moving for Heat. One is while I was in this studio trying to conform God Moving to this final scene of Heat, we had to take a break for 2 hours because Joe Mantegna, aka Fat Tony from The Simpsons, had to come in and do some of his Simpsons dialogue lines. And I continued to be the world's biggest Simpsons fan. So I was like, oh my God, they're gonna record Simpsons dialogue in the studio. I was like, this is the most perfect LA experience anyone has ever had. Like, I'm in Los Angeles, in a recording studio, working on a real film with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and I have to take a break so they can record Simpsons dialogue. I was like, what is this magical world that I have stepped into? So Joe Mantegna, he comes in, he does his line, and I remember it, one of them so clearly. It's when, and it's very sadly relevant now, it's when Apu Nahasapim Petalon is in danger of being deported. So Apu buys from Fat Tony, the mobster, a fake American passport. And instead of being from India, he's now from New Jersey. And his parents are now Herb and Judy Napasapina Petalon. And his favorite team is the New York Mets. And so Joe Mantegna came in and did his lines as Fat Tony, saying, here are your documents, and can I encourage you to please be more American? So it's funny and sadly, tragically relevant now. So that's the first story. The other, and it still stands as one of the most terrifying professional moments of my life, is while I was in this studio, someone came to me and said, Michael Mann wants to talk to you. And I was like, can't he just leave me alone? I'm terrified. I don't want to talk to humans. So they said, yes, he'll call you between 3 and 4 to talk about the scene. I was like, okay, this real director, this Michael Mann's going to call me up, and it's going to be scary, but I can deal with it because I'm a big boy. And the phone rings, I pick it up, and Michael Mann talks for about 45 minutes, and he talked about archetypes within the film and classical narrative elements and tropes. And it was like, he gave me this master class in what the movie Heat is about, and then just hung up the phone. And then it came out, and hear the music that I've made up against some sort of phenomenal, beautiful scene. It really is special. So I'm thrilled that 30 years later, people are still discovering the film and God moving over the face of the waters. The last thing I'll say is, for a lot of, call them like elevated culture buffs, their introduction to me was through God moving over the face of the waters in Heat. And so on a few occasions, I've had people come to my concerts expecting it to just be like God moving over the face of the waters. And then all of a sudden I'm playing rave tracks and punk rock songs. And I had this one very elderly couple who fell in love with God moving over the face of the waters, and they kept coming to shows because all of a sudden they realized they liked all this other music too. And it was so sweet. Like, I'd be playing a show somewhere, and in the back of the venue there'd be this 78-year-old couple, and we became friends. They would come backstage, and it was just really sweet because they ended up falling in love with rave music and all these other genres because they came to a show expecting it to be classical music.